Hi, my name is Mahima Jaju.
And I'm Janvi Ghatalia. We both use she and her pronouns. And today we're going to talk about disability in India. Before we begin, we'd like to acknowledge that there are different ways of addressing disability. In this presentation, we will be using identity first language. So instead of saying person with a disability, we will be saying disabled person, a term that large parts of the Indian disability community are actively advocating for.
Let's start with a short story. This is Rohit. He was born with an intellectual disability and he lives with his mother in a small town in India. Time and again, he is harassed, pitied, made to feel incompetent and inferior by those around him. One morning, Rohit's life miraculously turns around as he wakes up without his disability. Overnight, he becomes a charming, intelligent, desirable young man. People treat him with utmost love and respect, and he's now able to overcome any challenge that might come his way.
As you might have guessed, this is not a real story. Rohit is a fictional character from a blockbuster Indian film that made $13 billion at the box office. This film is a classic example of how Indian cinema has been objectifying and misrepresenting disability. From helpless and pitiful portrayals to stories of inspiration, from using disability as a comic relief to making characters disabled as a punishment for their misdeeds, all these representations give the message that living with a disability is nothing but a tragedy and that they will never be an equal part of society until they overcome them. Such misrepresentations have fueled innumerable myths and cultivated unconscious biases among audiences.
Indian cinema is the biggest film industry in the world, producing around 1,800 films every year. Given its wide reach, popularity, and diversity, films are at the heart of Indian culture. And especially in a country which has historically marginalized and excluded disabled people, their realities remain unknown to most. In such a situation, films play an unparalleled role in shaping the way millions of Indians see disability. So we wondered, how can the power of film itself be used as a catalyst to reframe society's perception of disability?
But being non-disabled ourselves, our own understanding of disability has been shaped by the media. So to be able to answer this question, it was important for us to keep our own biases in check and immerse ourselves in the community knowing that they are the experts. We began by conducting several interviews and group discussions with diverse disabled people. They shared with us their experiences of how they see their disability and how frustrated they were with the way films have been portraying them. To gain a deeper understanding of their lives, we observed social media channels where disabled people gathered to actively bust myths, advocate for disability justice, and challenge societal norms. We also connected with a disability community called Revival. They invited us to join their WhatsApp group where we observed how they were bringing attention to everyday ableism, discussing how unrelatable and disrespectful representations in the media are. Through all of this work, we had the incredible opportunity to be mentored by advocates Liz Jackson and Alex Haggard, whose radical work around disability justice gave us deeper insights into how representations of disability can so often turn into exploitation.
Our research so far had familiarized us with how the community does not want to be represented. To understand what authentic representation looks like and how filmmakers can do better, we facilitated an ideation session with Revival, where we came up with a long list of do's and don'ts of disability representation. To both of us, it was clear that the core of what disabled people have been saying lies in these following 3 points. 1. Disability is an identity and not a personal tragedy. Disabled people want filmmakers to lose their obsession of constantly fixing and curing disability in their films as if it is something broken and damaged. Disabled characters should have agency in their narratives. Their social and romantic lives should be acknowledged, and complexities of living with a disability should be retained and not ridiculed.
Second, disability is diversity. Filmmakers must realize that disabled people are a part of every community across the globe. No two people have the same experiences. So different types of visible and invisible disabilities must be given representation in leading as well as supporting roles. And to ensure that different perspectives and experiences are included, filmmakers must show identities across age, caste, gender, and socioeconomic status.
And lastly, there are 90 million disabled people in India, and they must be considered an active part of the audience for any and every film. This will ensure that representations resonate with the community.
When asked how filmmakers can achieve this, their answer was loud and clear. Filmmakers who do not have lived experience of disability can only have assumptions. They need to first understand what it is that they're doing wrong and be open to reframing their understanding of disability. They're saying, meet us, ask us questions, watch films that we love and hate, educate yourself about disability. So, what if learning how to authentically represent disability is made part of learning how to make a good film? What if young filmmakers are sensitized to ableism way before they enter the industry, so that they can be agents of change and shape the films of tomorrow?
Introducing the Crossover, an experiential learning program that equips non-disabled film students with tools to identify ableism and understand the misrepresentation of disability films. It enables students to interrogate their assumptions of disability, realize the impacts of bad representation, and ensures that their narratives originate from people with lived experiences. To stay true to the community voices and what they're advocating for, we invited our dear friends Preeti Singh, a disability advocate, and Rachit Raj, a writer and film critic, to co-design this program with us. It has 3 parts: the crossover workshop, the crossover guide, and the crossover lectures.
In the crossover workshop, students begin by discussing the power of storytelling and its impact on marginalized communities. They are then prompted to write the plot of a short story where they must include at least one disabled character. Next, they're introduced to disability stereotypes that are most commonly used in Indian films. Students learn about the impacts of these representations and why they must be avoided. To learn how to steer away from these stereotypes, they're also introduced to concepts that instead help in normalizing disability, and these should be adopted by filmmakers. Since both what to avoid and what to adopt can manifest in various different ways, students analyze good and bad examples of popular Indian films and identify stereotypes in them. They are prompted to make note of how elements like character arc, music, color schemes, dialogues, etc. are used to shape our understanding of disability. And finally, with these new lenses, students go back to their own stories and check if they have implicitly used these stereotypes and reflect on the assumptions they might have made while writing stories about disability.
The workshop is just the beginning of a much longer practice of checking assumptions. To continue this, students are provided with the crossover guide, which serves as a self-reflection tool. It has detailed explanations of disability stereotypes and normalizing concepts that were taught in the workshop, examples of Indian films that use them, and references to must-know disability advocates. It also has a section of questions to ask yourself that students must engage with when they're writing stories that include disability.
And finally, the crossover lectures is a series of discussions, critique, and Q&A sessions conducted by disabled creators and disability advocates that we connected with during our research. This platform aims to enable more conversations around disability representation and encourages filmmakers to listen to the voices of the community. Through this, students get direct access to learn about the disability movement, and disabled people use this platform to promote their work and increase disability visibility.
We piloted the crossover workshop with the Film and Video Department at our undergraduate school, MIT-ID, India. Upon completing the workshop, participants told us that he felt like a deer in the headlights. I had never realized that such popular representation is creating a negative idea about disability. Participants realized that all their stories either focused on the struggles of disability or how the character had overcome them. I didn't even know that I was using so many stereotypes. Now these patterns are so apparent, I can see them everywhere. And students learned that it is only possible to make authentic representations when they engage with the community. I cannot show disabled people on screen unless I involve them behind the screen as well. Their involvement is key. By starting to question their assumptions about disability, these young filmmakers have taken their very first steps in crossing over from ableism to awareness.
During the participant reflections, Preeti said that this is a continuous learning process. There can never be a perfect representation. But even if one person becomes aware of their bias, it can create a domino effect. The impact will be slow, but this is important work. Rachit, Preeti, Mahima and I are very excited to take this program to more film schools together and work towards making disability studies a mandatory part of film education. Engaging with a community that we were not a part of has taught us the value of self-reflection, the importance of identifying, acknowledging, and actively deconstructing our biases. What happens when we realize we didn't even know we didn't know? What happens when we honor lived experiences? What happens when we share power?
We begin to see possibilities. In a country that produces 1,800 films a year, that's 1,800 opportunities to change the narrative of disability.
Thank you so much. This project would not have been possible without Liz and Alex, without Preeti and Rachit, without Kara, without Mia, without all of you sitting here.
And our friends and family who are tuning in. Thank you.
Thank you.